Good evening.
There you go.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is our session, another session for Meet the Candidates, hosted by MICCA. Today we have our guest is Captain Michael Brown. He is running for governor for Michigan. Michael Brown, just a brief introduction. Michael Brown is a 33-year law enforcement veteran, and he has excelled in the most demanding positions, including working as a narcotics team leader. And Mike is currently the commander of the Southwest Michigan District of the Southwest Michigan District of the State Police. And Mike, growing up as a country kid, Mike learned the value of hard work at an early age, and he enlisted in the Marine Corps and served our country for 4 years in the infantry. And he worked his way through college by attending night schools and earned a bachelor's degree in business administration from Siena Heights College. So Mike continued, he wants to also serve, continue to serve our country by running for the governor for Michigan. So welcome, Mike, today to join our session here. So if you want to speak about, give us the message that you would like to give to our audience here, please go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Xiaowei, and thank you, Gary, for the invitation and introduction. So we can kind of convey my message about my campaign for governor. So first of all, I'd like to cover three things. I'll cover that in anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll take any question. But I will tell everyone, if I like to know a lot of things, but if I don't know something in the question and answer period, I'll just let you know I don't know it, because that's a great thing about hopefully being governor. You have a great team to work with. So some of my background is Xiaowei stated is I grew up in the country in Michigan by Grand Rapids, and I'm a country kid at heart, but you'll find I'm very, very diverse in my knowledge of Michigan and my skills. So when I was 14, I started milking cows and working on the apple orchard. So you'll see by the end of this presentation, I'm not a stranger to any hard work for myself or family or the citizens. So I milked cows for 4 years. That's probably why I still get up super early, like 5 a.m., probably like a lot of you. And when I was 18, I went into the military service in the United States Marine Corps. Didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I wasn't ready for college at the time, and parents didn't have any money anyway. So I had to figure out what I was doing. And then, so I went in the Marine Corps for 4 years. Towards the end of my time in the Marine Corps, I was taking some college classes because I figured I was going to get out. And my original plans were kind of diverse. I was either going to work in agriculture or work on Wall Street, but somehow I ended up in law enforcement. So I came back to Michigan and was fortunate enough to be hired by the state police and was sent down to Southwest Michigan. So I've been in the state police 33 years. As Xiaowei said, I'm the captain of the Southwest District, which covers just south of Grand Rapids, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Benton Harbor region, kind of all the way to Lake Michigan in Indiana. I have about 200 troopers, sergeants, and lieutenants under my command. And as Xiaowei said, I've had some very demanding assignments. They've been great. One of my best was as a narcotics team leader, keeping drugs off the street. I didn't really think I'd be in that kind of line of work, but I excelled at it because it was kind of like a chess match with a strategy. And so that was an excellent job and learning experience with leadership and decision making. But like I said, I command 200 individuals in the public safety profession over here in the Southwest Michigan area. When I was in my 20s, I ran for county office when I was age 27 and defeated a Republican incumbent. I'm a Republican, of course. She said she was going to retire, end up not retiring, but I ran in that election and won. and I won 2 terms as county commissioner. So I jokingly say this, but this is true. I'm the only candidate running for governor that's ever ran for office. So I'm still undefeated. I'm going to stay undefeated in August and November. So I kind of laugh about that, but it is true. And then, so that's kind of my professional career. And I love agriculture, being outside. I love the outdoors, hunting and fishing. Those are things that keep some stress off me in my police work. But a little bit about my personal life. Married 29 years, going to be 30 years this year. 3 kids. My oldest is a Central Michigan grad, works for Meyer in Grand Rapids. My son, he's a Brown University graduate. He's an Ivy Leaguer and is now at Dartmouth Medical School. So he got all the brains from my wife, of course. So then my youngest is at Michigan State. So that's some of my personal background. So why I'm running for governor is, so I was in politics in my 20s. I dipped out with some very demanding leadership jobs in the state police and commuting to Lansing from where I lived when my kids were in high school. But I just saw the path that the state of Michigan was on with the current administration. And we saw the lack of common sense and decision-making from this administration, which really started taking place as soon as the governor took office, when she tried to raise the gas tax on the whole state of Michigan. So, and then we go into 2020, 2021, we see all the issues with the decision-making, totally disrespecting citizens, declaring whole swaths of the state of Michigan non-essential in their livelihoods. And this is my point of view with that. If you're putting food on the table for your family and your business that you spent time developing, or you're employing individuals in Michigan, those jobs are essential. Those lives are essential. So I saw the lack of common sense in that decision-making. And then we had the public safety crisis that was going on in Michigan. So I took a look around. Every day I drive into work, and early in the morning, when I'm sending men and women out there with violent crime escalating, the protest. And I looked at the whole Republican field, and I knew who was getting in the race. And I thought I had the right leadership and knowledge in Michigan to win this race and return some respect to our citizens and return some common sense to our decision-making in government. So, and I want to talk about one thing about my background in Michigan, why I can win this race. Then I'll pop into some issues, and then we'll take as many questions as we can. So the one thing about me is, like I said, I'm a country kid at heart. I've worked in urban areas my whole police career. And so I am comfortable from the logging woods in northern Michigan. I was just up there running some timber equipment, and I have some farming equipment myself. So I'm comfortable from the woods to the farms, to the rural areas, to the urban areas. I work a lot with urban pastors, urban city commissioners to keep crime down, city leaders, and the suburbs. So I like to say this, from the country to the cities and to the suburbs, I'm comfortable everywhere. And that's the kind of Republican candidate it's going to take to win this race, because that's where you have to win the votes in all those areas. So, but that's what I like to talk about, some issues that are very important to me. We talked about returning respect to all citizens and to all business owners. That's going to take a new governor to do that. You see the animosity we have out here in the state. There's a lot of conversations about voter integrity in some areas of the state, not so much, but making sure we have full faith and confidence in our elections is very important. Having a very clean budget is very important. I deal with budgets now. The state of Michigan is awash in money from the COVID cash and the federal government, but we cannot create a budget that is non-sustainable with one-time money. So any monies that have to be spent should be accounted for with future budgets in mind. So law enforcement and safety happens to be a specialty of mine because I'm in that business. We've had a really rough 2 years about the image of the policing profession driven by some radical groups. I will say that, and I'll stand behind that. But it's going to take a new governor to get people interested and supported in law enforcement. I was just over past the Ann Arbor area, north of there in Lapeer County, and the sheriff there had zero applicants for positions. And this is kind of a bedroom community mixed with small towns, rural areas, great place to work and live. And he has 0 people interested, first time in 40 or to 50 years. So we have that all over the state. That's going to take a new governor to correct. I have plans for scholarships for police officers to get people interested in that work, and a lot of plans to rebuild the policing profession. So let's put it this way. Every family, whether you're man, woman, child, you normally want 3 things, right? You want great education, you want a safe community, and you want an environment where you can get a great job. So, and safety is one of the key factors in that. Education is a key component in my line of work. One thing I do know is that a great high school education, I graduated public schools, all my kids have. A great education is your first step to being successful, whether you go on to college, trade school, or you go right into employment in some field. Because you can make a great living without going to a 4-year college. All my kids are in 4-year colleges. I worked my way through night school. A lot of my close friends are in the trades, and they're not college graduates, but they make a great living doing what they're doing because they're skilled. So there's a lot of different avenues to improve education. I am going to put more focus on trade schools and that versus higher education. So like the 4-year colleges, because they already have their programs established. They already have huge endowments, most colleges, the 4-year colleges, and they get significant funding from the state of Michigan. So those programs are already established. I'll be working more concentrated on the trade schools personally. So the last issue I want to talk about is agriculture. I'm a farm kid at heart. Agriculture is always the number 1 or number 2 industry in the state of Michigan. Usually it's manufacturing. Agriculture's normally second. But we have a very diverse agriculture community from the east side of the state to northern Michigan to southern Michigan. And that's going to be a priority of mine because that employs a lot of families, feeds the state of Michigan, feeds the nation and the world. So having a level playing field for Michigan products, making sure we have export markets for products also. And we have the right regulatory environment for all business. That's one thing I'll be working on, is removing rules and the bureaucrats from business regulations, making it as seamless as possible for people to run their businesses if you're a business owner, or expand your business with the least amount of regulations possible. So that's a lot of the main issues I will be concentrating on as governor. So I can talk in the question period about how I'm going to win this race. We have a number of candidates. I'll just go over this real quick. There's a number of candidates in the race. I already alluded to the fact that I'm comfortable everywhere in Michigan. I'm campaigning everywhere. I'm going to be in Wayne County Monday. This Saturday, I'm going to be in the Upper Peninsula. I don't have too much travel going on these 2 days. Last week, I was in Clare. So it's going to be an interesting campaign all the way to August 2nd, the Republican primary, and then to November 8th. So I'm prepared for that. My wife's super excited, if you know this, because I have to take a couple months off with no pay. I'm still currently the captain over here with the state police. The civil service rule says I have to take 2 months off no pay. So she's super excited about that, but I need the time to win the race anyway. But God will provide for us, taking a couple months off, but I'm good with that. I knew what I was getting into, but it'll be interesting. We'll sort out the best candidate by August 2nd. So that's a little about Michael Brown, Captain Mike. I'll say this now. I'll probably say this again. So if you want to learn more about my campaign or support the campaign, you can go to CaptainMikeForMichigan.com, CaptainMikeForMichigan.com. And my Facebook page is the same, Captain Mike for Michigan. You'll see me on there. And a lot of Republicans don't follow Twitter, independents, but I have a Twitter account that's also Captain Mike for Michigan. A lot of the newspaper reporters are on that. So, but glad I could introduce myself to you. And Xiaowei, I'll be ready for any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the message for the participants here. We are excited for you to run for the governor for Michigan. Captain Mike, by the way, is very catchy. We like that. I think it's easy to remember and feels like superpower. Captain America, Captain Mike. That's great. So so for the participants here today, if you want to ask questions, you can ask in the chat window, or you can unmute your mic and ask the question yourself. So I'm going to take one question first from the chat window while you're preparing for your questions, if you want to ask in person. So Captain Mike, the first question in the chat window is how to fix Michigan road.
How to fix the roads, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of conversation about roads. It's been going on for a long time. And I'll tell all the participants, I've driven over 1 million some miles in the state of Michigan. I mean, 100%. In my time in a patrol car, commuting, I'm way over 1 million miles. So I've seen every bump and pothole and clattering around this state. But this is my plan, is I like to break things down in little smaller pieces, right? So my infrastructure plan, whether it's bridges or roadways or boat launches, I'll tell you a funny story about a boat launch here, but is to have a county by county plan, okay? So every county should have their priorities set for which roadways, which sections of interstate need repair, the state roads, the county roads get funded a different way. And if you have multi-county projects with an interstate, then those get lumped together. But that way, counties that are smaller, more rural, they also have their priorities along with the urban areas. So then everyone in every region and every county will know what their infrastructure road priorities are there that are set for them. So there's a lot of complaints about all the money goes to the urban areas. That will solve most of that. We do have more driving in the urban areas. So obviously their priorities certainly will get addressed. And on the bridges, we have bridges that are probably out that connect in the rural areas or urban areas, big transportation markets for business, where the trucking industry needs to travel or farm implements need to travel. So those should be prioritized. And I'll end with this. We have $1 billion in gas taxes that do not go for roadways. They go for other things in the state budget, $1 billion, okay? That needs to be cleaned up. Every dime of gas tax that someone pays should go towards roadways. So when the governor tried to put 45 cents on the working citizens for gas tax as soon as she came into office, it's a good thing that didn't happen, because we know gas prices are $3 and some now in the state of Michigan. And I'll just say I'm not impressed with the current administration. As infrastructure plan, I had to call the Michigan Department of Transportation, because I work for the state police and I deal with traffic safety. The whole highway was splitting apart. A motorcycle would have fallen into it. But that's my plan to fix the roadways county by county.
Thank you, Captain Mike. So basically, you just want the money, the tax money, the the money for the roads to go where it belongs, not being used on other things, right? That's one key.
That should be one of our top priorities, to make sure every penny of gas tax goes towards the roadways.
That's great. So the next question, actually, I will ask a question. So your background is in a state police, right? And also military before, and then state police. So with what you mentioned, like in your introduction about the defund the police movement. So your background is in the police in the area. So how do you influence those who are actively involved in the defund police movement, and how do you turn them into voters for you, supporters for you? I'm just curious.
Okay. Well, some of them you will never convince, but by and large, there's still a vast percentage of citizens support law enforcement. You know, we've had some dramatic crime increases in the state of Michigan. The city of Grand Rapids, crime is up 300-400%. I've been tirelessly working down here to keep crime at a decent level. When you talk to citizens in regards to that, there's some, you know, I talked earlier about people want normally three things. They want a great job, education for their family, a safe place to live. And unfortunately, we have areas of the state that are still prone to violent crime. And the defund the police movement came about with a tragic incident over in another state, Minnesota. So, but I do know if you're the governor, as the top political leader, you have to support law enforcement. If there's issues that come up, you have to hold people accountable. But the vast majority of police officers live in your neighborhoods. They love the citizens, they love their communities, and that's what has to be communicated.
Thank you. So anybody who has questions for Captain Mike, please raise your, actually unmute yourself, I'm sorry.
Hello, Officer Michael Brown. My name is Ning Zhang, and I have a couple of questions. First, thank you for meeting and talking with us, our community. Really appreciate that. And just heard about your background, and at the same time, I can kind of glimpse through your website. A couple of questions. As the future governor, what is your position on improve the economy of the state? What is your plan to return business stay in Michigan, especially the manufacturers, and also get other high-tech companies coming into Michigan, and also to retain the talents, for example, the graduates from the prestigious schools, U of M, MSU, stay inside Michigan? That's my first question. I think on your website, you mentioned something about the cutting tax and the promote training. Can you elaborate on that? The second question is, you mentioned among your competition during this race, you're the only one who has experience serving office. I think you're gonna have very fierce competition from another law enforcement officer. That's the ex-police chief from Detroit City, James Craig. So what is your plan to defeat him? How are you going to convince me and other people to vote you, not him, since your background are similar? Final question, sorry about my long questions. The third question I have today is, something just happened last weekend. As your background as state police, and you mentioned one of your priorities is public safety. So last weekend in New York City, so you you may not know the news yet. It's in New York City, and the subway station, and a woman was shoved down to the subway track. The so-called random crime, the random violent crime, and she was killed there. And then 2 other women, something similar happened to them in Los Angeles City, also last weekend, all killed by homeless people, and might be also mentally ill. So as a state police officer, what is your opinion on, or your way to improve this, or the position on this type of incidents? It's been happening more and more frequently. We have been hearing it more and more, and most of the victims are women, and many of them, the past 2 years, are Asian Americans.
Mhm.
So we would really like to hear from you on this. Thank you.
Ning, thank you for the questions. And I think I have them all in my head. Let me tackle the first one about economics. So economics, the Republican primary, and then crime against Asians in some of the urban areas. So if I forget something, just remind me, okay?
Sure.
So economics, in regards to the overall business climate, I think Michigan needs to do better, because our income tax is a full percent higher than Indiana and Ohio. Okay. And you see people, as you mentioned, whether it's people that are in their 20s or senior citizens, retirees, moving to North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, those type of states, because obviously the weather's a little better, but I don't think that's the determining factor. It's the overall tax structure. So one of my objectives will be to reduce the state income tax as low as we can get it and still provide the basic services to the state of Michigan. Also the same thing for the corporate income tax. So the one thing that has become apparent is that our electric utilities cost is a barrier for large manufacturers. You saw that come about with Ford going down to Kentucky. So the utilities industry, we need to take a serious look at making sure they're competitive for all businesses in the state of Michigan. So as you can see, I'm pretty well studied on a lot of things. I keep up on the police work, but I love to read and study on different topics. But those would be my first things in regarding economics, and really the bureaucracy of MICCA, LARA, all these state agencies that put barriers on business. I'm going to have someone that's going to be specifically working with the business community to remove barriers. So that covered my economics. And regarding the Republican primary, I do know all the candidates. You asked me specifically about the former police chief, so I will address that. I'm not impressed, okay? I've said that before. First of all, he was a Democrat, okay, for just a few years ago. Crime in Detroit, 80% of crime is not solved, okay? So I'm not impressed with that as a police officer. And we also need a candidate that can campaign everywhere, that has the physical stamina and the connections to campaign in the country, the suburbs, and the city. So I'll just be honest, he doesn't compare well to me. So we will sort that out. And I've said this before, I'll say it right to him. So we'll say it in the Republican primary. Mm-hmm. But Ning, this campaign for this primary is going to be tough because we need a tough candidate to win. So let me talk about the uptick in Asian crime in the urban areas. I find that disgusting, that the cities are not putting more protection out there on the street in those communities, especially where we're having random attacks on primarily Asians in the big cities. San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles are primarily where it's happening. So a lot of that's with people that are suffering from mental health issues, but that's no excuse. We need to have the protection for the citizens where they're at. So I have seen that. I am aware of that New York incident. I won't tolerate that kind of stuff as governor in the state.
Thank you for answering my questions. Going to the second question regarding to James Craig, not to defend him, but I do believe last year and a year ago, he did handle pretty well when the during the BLM movement, and there was not such hectic incident or chaos in the city of Detroit. I have to give him the credit on that one.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. And you did say that 80% of crimes in Detroit are not solved. That's
a fact. So
okay. The third question about the violent crime. So you said the big cities, they are not putting enough forces on the street. Could that be one of the reasons because of the big cities, the defunding police is going on actively, so they don't have enough resources, meaning funding and the people to do that. In state of Michigan, what is your take? What can we do in Michigan if you're in the position, or just as a police officer or state police officer?
well, that's one thing I do best is I'm proactive and I evaluate issues. Then you make decisions to put high performing people in there. That's what I do best, is put high performing people on issues and take care of business. So, and in regarding what you're saying, is you always have to evaluate what's going on and make rapid adjustments, especially when it comes to the safety of the citizens. So if you have anything going on, you have to put resources there. You have to have dedicated resources. I do the same thing over here in a predominantly African-American community. It's a smaller community, but there was 70 people shot in a small town over the last couple of years. So I proactively address those resources. And that's what I do as governor, is you look at those issues and then you make sure there's people on top of it. So, and you adjust your resources. Regarding the defunding the police, there's police departments all over the state of Michigan that are 20, 30 officers down, 5 officers down. If they're a smaller department, they can't hire people. So, but that's going to take two to 3 years to right the ship on that. But the bottom line thing is that people, men and women, they will not sign up for a dangerous job in law enforcement unless they have political support.
What do you think of things like some criminals being catched by police and then they were being released right away without bond or very low bond, or some of the DAs even drop the charges or lower the charges to them? So what's your position on that?
In some of those areas, we have prosecutors that have signed up for a radical agenda, like the prosecutor in Lansing. So they've signed up for these radical agendas, but I'll never sign up for that. I'll never sign up for the defund the police movement, because it's always been to me, because I've been in service to this nation a long time, it's always about the citizens. So all your decisions have to be about the safety of the citizens and their well-being. So that's my first barometer when I look at making decisions or putting people in charge of something.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Officer Brown. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Ning, for the great questions.
Good luck to your campaign.
Good afternoon. My name is Chan Schmidt, and I'm very thankful for Mr. Brown to come to this meeting. I have a simple question. If you become a candidate, represents a Republican as of final, if you win the primary, do you have a plan or strategy to deal with the magical number overnight for certain precinct, which is I have been a volunteer for Republican, just like a poll watchers, challenger, what have said, and also knock on the door, make a phone call as a volunteer. I see not a whole spectrum, but to see something, So my question to you is, do you have a strategy like in year 2018, 2020, which is now becoming famous worldwide as of Americans, a laughing stock? But anyway, so as of a candidate, if you win the primary, do you have a strategy and plan to face of a certain precinct come out a magical number overnight? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. And I'll be honest with you, the Republican Party, whoever the candidate is, we're going to need to be very strong in election integrity across this whole state. Okay. So we're going to need a lot more volunteers. We're going to need a lot more attorneys in every precinct, every large polling place is going to have to be on notice that there's not going to be any bad ballots going into the system, because once you have bad ballots in the system, you're never going to find them. So the Republican Party already has someone in working on that in preparation for this election. The first time they've done that in a long time. In 2020, they didn't have a big operation. It's got to be, it has to be to the next level where all the citizens have confidence in the election. That's where I'm at. And we'll see where the legislation sorts out, but you need a driver's license to get on a plane. You need a driver's license to buy cigarettes or alcohol or bank. So we should have voter ID in the state. I will sign that as governor. I know there's a ballot petition going on, but bottom line is Republicans need to be tough. We got to have volunteers, attorneys everywhere this election to make sure people have confidence.
Well, because I was on the last, on year 2020, on November 3rd, I was down the TCF Center. So I have firsthand, the first feeling, I thought I was relived communist cultural revolution ever again. Personally, I was threatened by those thugs. I call them thugs. So they intimidate, because we have nothing to do. I mean, we were just there to, honestly, was not even fully, equipped to the train. We just go over there, said, okay, you go to volunteer. So, okay, I would just volunteer. Okay, not a problem. But at the scene, on the ground, there was totally unfairly structured. So my question is that, if you become a governor, you can pass, you can present the law, you can do a lot of things, but how do you get in? If the things that happened just like in year 2018, which is Tom Lerner and John James, they all went before 11 o'clock. Next morning, 7 o'clock, the whole thing turned over. They turn out to be lost 8% or 14%, what have you. It doesn't make any difference if you lost 0.8%. You know what I mean? So now the point is, how do you get in? With the theme like in year 2020, no matter who is that, I'm not a particular, face to you or face to anybody, but whoever went in the primary, they all have to face to this scene all over again. So anybody want to win have to have some kind of strategy, or have to be clean up the scene first, But prevented it, I mean, I live in West Broomfield. So in West Broomfield, over 20, 30 years, every time we go to vote, we all have to present the driver's license. That was not much of an issue. Does not mean there is no cheat. Waterford, somebody was a poll worker, not even challenger. They wrote notice to something very fishy. They're working there. Some people know something, but other people should not know. So they do not know, but they can just feeding. You're there. You just know something's not right. So, but what I'm saying that, yeah, after you become a governor, you can clean up a lot of things. But the point is, how do you get over the boundary, become one?
Right.
You know, seems to me the fence is pretty tough. You know, the fence is rise up pretty tall, probably much taller than down the border of Texas or what have you say. You know what I'm talking about, be a sarcasm. But anyway, you know, I think by now you get my point.
No, I got your point. And there's been a lot of people talking about what happened, particularly at the TCF Center. I was not over that direction, so I don't have any firsthand knowledge. I hear what you're saying. The bottom line, the Republicans going to need to be tough this year. And I'll give you some of my political strategy so everyone knows what I'm thinking it's going to take to win this race. Is this race will not be won in Detroit, okay? This race is going to be won in every county, in every town but Detroit, the city of Detroit, okay? And that means counties like Oakland, you get another 2,000 Republican votes. Washtenaw, you get another 1,000. Jackson County, Kent County, Otsego County up north, you get an extra 500. That's where the extra 400,000 to 500,000 votes are for the Republican candidate are going to come from, not from the city of Detroit. So there's this magical illusion that, oh, you gotta get more in Detroit, but that's not going to happen for the Republicans. We've seen it with John James. We need a candidate that will win big in the suburbs and in the country. That's where this race is going to be won for the Republicans this year. Whether I win or not, you can write that down.
Yeah, but the point is the Detroit TCF is the magical for the other side. It really does not matter of. In year 2018, it comes out with the 360 vote in the box, only 30 ballots inside. So no matter how we're going to do it, you know, they are always the last one. It's needs basis, how much number they come out. So how we're going to go, you know, by 12 o'clock, we all go home and we all sleep. By 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock next morning, over the course of 6-8 hours, what have you, and the things are turning out. So how we block it, say the way, look, 11 o'clock, there is no more, you know, whatever dangling things comes in. If you don't stop at that one, we cannot stop.
Right.
The number turns out next day.
The other thing, no, I hear what you're saying about the vote counting going on when you don't have poll watchers there and everyone getting shut out.
We do, but, well, you know what we do, but the poll watcher does not, well, in this particular case, we were 6 feet away of 15.6 inches of the screen. You basically, with my bifocal on the mind, over 60 years old, don't expect me to see a damn thing. You know what I mean? And also it goes so fast because they scan it. They have a scan goes so fast. So we couldn't see nothing at all. You know, I mean, you can see from left to corner, top of the corner, by the time you scroll down to the middle, the page is over. And, you know, and also it's such of a animosity environment, unbelievable. So if you don't have any strategy faced to the Detroit, like a John James, you know, he's a black, but not saying race by any means, but it does play. You don't play, we don't play, but other people play. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have a strategy against that, you don't win.
Oh,
that's the end of it.
I've talked to people in the Republican Party. I know they're going to be way more aggressive this year. And if I'm the nominee, we're going to pull out all the stops across the state to make sure this vote is fair. So thank you, sir. Yeah. I do appreciate I do appreciate you volunteering, working at the polls and being a poll watcher or election challenger. So I do appreciate what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Election is always an important issue. So we're going to move on to actually some other topics because we have many questions in the chat window right now. So the next question in the chat window is from Lan Tong. So she asked, we have met a few other Republican candidates so far. While I believe any Republican will run the office better than Democrats. How do you distinguish yourself from the other Republican candidates?
Well, we talked about that a little earlier, just with my knowledge of the whole state. And, I've lived and served the state my whole life. A lot of the other candidates are lived out of state for a long time. So my knowledge is greater than any candidate about all the state of Michigan, whether you go north, south, east, or west. And like I said, I'm comfortable everywhere. As you probably can tell, as a longtime police officer, I have a good grasp of a lot of issues, whether it's the agriculture markets, economics, education. So that's one hallmark that I have amongst all the other candidates, and the ability to campaign anywhere in this state. This is going to be a grueling race. So I'm working full time and campaigning full time too. So I'm putting in 70, 80, 90, 100 hours, depends on the week. So that's what it's going to take. And I have a commitment to win this race. So I still work for the state of Michigan. So for me to run for governor, I put all my chips in the middle of the table, because I don't like how this state is going in this administration. So I'll remind everyone on the call here, in April, all the candidates that are going to be on the ballot need to have their petitions in. I will 100% be on the ballot here very soon. So there'll be I don't know who's going to be left, but a lot of the candidates running won't be on the ballot. So it'll be down to the serious people at that point.
Very good. Thank
You
you.
need a signature, right? Number of signatures you collect, right?
You need, Gary, you need 15,000 valid signatures.
Right. Okay. So how far are you there? You're almost there?
Yep, I have tons of volunteers, and then we have a petition management company that helps you qualify all the signatures to make sure when you turn them in, you're 100% legitimate.
Great. Great to hear that.
Gary, I'll say this jokingly: you don't get in this race to walk around giving some speeches. You have to account for that, and I'm smart enough to do that. So
That's good.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Shelley.
good. Yeah, good that you're close, right? Or
yeah,
maybe already
it's
surpassed.
going to happen.
That's right. That's great. So the next question is from the chat, also is by Jenny Shen. So she asked, what do you think about economics of Michigan? You know, there are many small businesses went bankrupt, and there are many businesses that have been facing short staffs for a few years. As a future governor, do you have any plan to get more people work in order to save those small businesses?
That's an excellent question. Our workforce has been destroyed in the last 2 years. And I'll go back to some of the lack of common sense decisions. We don't have these issues in South Dakota, Florida, Mississippi, Texas. We don't have these kinds of issues with the workforce. We do have some supply chain issues across this country that are affecting some areas. But just for a point of reference, I was in Lowell, Michigan, and they had a $3,000 signing bonus for the assistant manager at Burger King, right? So my plans to get this back, the economy back, is we have to give freedom to our citizens. We had the lockdowns and business regulations way too long on this state of Michigan. And I'll comment on my own daughter. She works for a major corporation in Grand Rapids. She's still working at her apartment, and she started working there at age 24. She's 26 now, and that is not good for anyone. The downtowns have been shrinking up because there's no workforce down there. We need to get people working again. That's going to take a little bit to sort out. I don't have a perfect answer, but maybe some individuals on this call will come work for my administration, and we'll get the workforce back. But what we've done to the young people, the students, and our young professionals. Keeping them at their houses for 2 years just disgusts me. My wife says I get too angry about it, but it's just horrible what we've done to the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I agree. Right. It's not good for the students, the young kids' mental health, right? That's huge
Yeah.
impact on them also. So yeah.
I
So
do
moving on. Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy. So Xiaohui, you want to continue the questions in the chat window, or I can ask my question right now?
Yeah, go ahead and ask. Mike, but Captain Mike, I do have one question for you. If this meeting goes a little bit longer, are you okay with that? Because we have planned between 8 to 9 o'clock. We have about 8 minutes left. We still have a couple questions in the chat window, and some people, right, like Cindy has questions also. So
Yeah.
are you okay?
Yeah, we'll handle all the questions. I'm having a great
Sure.
time, so I'm good with staying until we get all the questions answered. So
Yeah, thank you.
I'm really having a good time. So this is good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I will continue. First, like Ning mentioned before, thank you for meeting with us. My name is Cindy, and I will say that again. I did help last year 2020 campaign, and I was in the TCF center myself. So, but do not want to talk about anymore. It's past. So my question is, first is like, I heard we talk about the Michigan roads, right? But for me, it's like, I have been living in Michigan for 20 years. I heard so many governors and candidates talk about that, but still we do have worse and worse situation. So do you really think the road is fixable in Michigan? That's my, I just feel I lost the hope to Michigan road already. So yeah, that is not a question, it's just like my comment. And my real question is like, Captain Michael, for your campaign, let's say if you win the primary, Republican primary, will you are looking for endorsement from our previous President Trump? So how do you feel about as a Republican, do you agree with President Trump's ideas or policies, or how do you think about that? Or will you looking for his endorsement for your campaign?
Okay. Thank you for the question, Cindy. And I will tell everyone here that I've been a President Trump supporter since 2015. And I loved his policies for America, and they affected Michigan at the same time. So there's a lot of people dancing around that. I'm not dancing around it. I got the checks to prove it where I donated to them from 2015 on. And I'll tell you a funny story. I told all my buddies, I said, hey, Trump's going to win. And they're like, what, the primary? I said, no, he's going to win it all, because the country needed someone that stood up for the citizens of America. So I'm 100% supportive of President Trump. I was disgusted at that riot in Washington, D.C. with those knuckleheads. I'll call them knuckleheads. I can call them something stronger with that. Everyone's accountable for their own actions. The president was upset about a lot of states changing the election rules with the COVID excuse. So I agree with him on all those election changes, but I am a President Trump supporter. If you endorse me, that'd be great. I've always stood on my own 2 feet in my career, serving the nation, serving the state police, raising a family. So I've always stood by myself, not by myself, but with my own ideas as my own person. So, but I would accept his endorsement. I would campaign with him tomorrow.
Okay, thank you for your answer. So you don't want to dancing around, right? You're just a Trump supporter. No question, no doubt about that.
No doubt about it. On my Facebook page, you'll see a picture of me with him in 2016. So you'll see it on my Facebook page.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your answer. So my following question will be, okay, as the immigration group or community, right? We are, like myself, we concern about the immigration policies. So for Dr. Trump's immigration policy, do you think it will be concern some immigration group community, like Chinese or Asian community? Even he does not, he mentioned it's law and order, right? We do have immigration processes, something. He does not really like the illegal immigrants to come in without any rules or something like that. But it's really confusing. It's really hard to explain that. So people may easily get impression, no, oh, President Trump, he's against immigration, something like that. So how do you balance or think of this kind of really controversial questions?
The history of immigration in this country is a long and distinguished one from a variety of countries. Started in Europe, expanded to Central America, the Asian countries, Pakistan, India. A lot of my friends down here are Indian American, and they came over when they were with their parents. So legal immigration is something this country has supported pretty much its entire history. In regarding illegal immigration, we have really dramatic effects going on in this country with illegal immigration, primarily from Mexico and South America, which has caused human smuggling, drug trafficking. Every town is a border town with narcotics coming in, and I have men and women that do that every day for me here. And the amount of methamphetamine and fentanyl and heroin coming into this country from the Mexico and the South American region is staggering. That's bad for the citizens. I will always support legal immigration and support any community, whether it's the approximately 70,000 Chinese Americans that live in Michigan, the Chaldean community, the Indian American, the Hispanic community is growing. I'll support every community. And the one thing I learned when I first went in the Marine Corps is the military is a melting pot. We had people from everywhere. There was black, white, Filipino, Hispanic, Japanese individuals there. And I had a couple tours overseas in Japan and the Philippines and got to experience the power of the world and in the country. So I'm all for legal immigration, but we cannot let illegal immigration destroy the society of America. Thank you, Cindy, for the great question.
Thank you for your great answer.
Thank you. So any other questions from the audience here? Please unmute yourself. So, okay, so while we're waiting for people to prepare their questions, maybe we'll move to the chat window questions. The next question is from Yan Jing. The question is, what is your opinion on the unions of the employees of the public sectors, specifically the teachers union?
That's a great question. There's a lot of stuff going on with education right now nationally with primarily curriculum issues. Like I said, I went to public schools. All my kids went to public schools, and where I'm at, the teachers union issues really don't come up very much. I know it's a factor in other school districts. The bottom line is, whatever union you're in, if you're in a public sector union like the teachers, it's not about you, it's always about the children. It always has to be about the citizens, or if you're in a teaching area, it has to be about the children that you're teaching. By and large, if you're in a public sector job like myself, or a teacher, you get compensated adequately. You're not going to be wealthy, but you get a good pension, you get good health care. Normally your schedule is pretty good. So there's trade-offs in every environment you go to. That's what I would remind anyone in a union, a public sector union. You're always there for the citizens.
Right, thank you. Because we heard about the strikes in walkouts in some districts, like in Chicago, in different areas. That's concerning for parents. I think that's a big question for all candidates, basically. So thank you for your answer about their priority, right? It should be in the children, the kids that they're supposed to educate.
I give the same message to the young troopers that work in the district here, because you learn that after a while. But you always want to take care of your employees, and no matter what company you're in, if you're the owner, you're the supervisor, you always want to take care of your people. But at the same time, you have to understand why you're there, especially if you're getting paid by the citizens of Michigan.
Yeah, great. So one more question here in the chat window is by Rui Hua. So the question is, let's talk about K through 12 education. What do you think is the most critical? It's a big question here.
No, I've been getting this a lot around the state, and by and large, the majority of our public schools do, I would say, a admirable job of educating our students. Okay, we do have school districts that have failing grades in mathematics, reading, and writing scattered around the state. And as the governor, this would be my plan with any school district, whether they're struggling financially or in their core areas of reading, writing, mathematics. So any school district, if you're struggling financially or in your core education requirements, my plan would be to assign them a turnaround expert, so to speak. If you're in business, you have experts that go in there and turn your company around because you're spending too much money, your product line's bad, et cetera. So we need people that have experience and have been successful in turning around individuals' finances or their curriculum to make sure we're educating our children in that K-12. That's the crucial part of education in Michigan. You compare Michigan and other states in the United States to internationally, even our best schools are falling behind countries like Japan, China, Switzerland, some of the European countries in the overall education of the K-12. So we have school districts that are doing a great job, but they're, on the average side internationally. But we have a lot of work to do. We put billions into that. But any school that's going down, they're going to have a turnaround expert to get them back on track because we owe it to the children. Let me go to the core curriculum. That's a hot topic nationally with critical race theory, whatever you want to call it, equity programs. We have some great history of this country. We have some terrible history of the United States, just like just about every nation in this world. So let's teach the history of the country. Let's concentrate on our core curriculum because that's what's going to make our youngsters, young adults successful, the core curriculum.
Thank you. So now it's about 9:06.
Excuse me. This is a
Sure.
refund. Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you, Captain Mike, for answering the question. I think right now you just mentioned the critical race theory, right? What's happening is the school board will deny that they have critical race theory in teaching the children. They even deny they have any sexual material in the library. Okay, so they just totally deny it. And you know, even for the, if you want to do the what called the FOIA, you know, and the charge you such a huge amount, you know, parents cannot just do it. So that's why I'm wondering what do you see that you can do if you are the governor?
Well, it starts with your appointment as the superintendent of the State Board of Education. So your appointment of that individual is a key component of the governor's direction of the educational priorities of the state of Michigan. So that's the first thing. You could also have legislation that really directs the curriculum of the different schools or prohibit certain things. I know in Virginia, the new governor just signed some executive orders removing that kind of content from the Virginia school system. So those are all tools that are available to a governor to address. So I'll be honest, I went to an all-white high school. There was a few kids of Hispanic descent there at different times. But I learned the power of the country in the different races and regions of the country when I went in the military, and that carried over to what I do today. So that was a big learning episode for me of just seeing the power of America and really smiling at that and liking everyone. So that's where I learned that, and that's what we need to teach kids in school and college. That we got some great history. We're always improving as a country. We got some things we're not proud of, but let's let everyone make their own decision.
Thank you. So does anybody online has questions? You want to unmute yourself and ask? So if we don't have any more questions, I do have one question. So Captain Mike, do you have any questions for the participants here today, or any comments or advice that you want to address them? Or how you want us to help your campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a couple questions. And again, if you want to learn more about me, I think Ning already looked up my website, CaptainMikeForMichigan.com. You can assist the campaign there by volunteering, or if you like what I stand for, supporting the campaign financially. If you're in business, you know you need resources to win. So you certainly can do that. So I was doing some research on the Chinese community in Michigan, and two questions. What are some of the most important issues to the Chinese community in Michigan? And I do see that about 70,000 population of residents of Michigan are of Chinese descent. Primarily by Troy, Rochester, Oakland County, Wayne, Washtenaw County, and just wondered what the concerns and interests were of the Chinese community.
Okay, I might take a liberty to address that a little bit. So you can see from the questions, a lot of the audience really, really interested and were concerned about the education, because we have seen over years the deteriorating public education in the K-12 schools, and in Northville I can see that, even in very good school districts that happens. And with the teachers union, teachers focus on, I would say, dividing our students instead of teaching them the good stuff. And also, I don't, as a business owner in the IT industry, I can see we just have no good foundation for our kids to grow up in information technology. Okay, there's no emphasis on STEM education.
Right.
If you look at math competition, everything is all like the winners, all like the second generation kids, like our kids, that really emphasize on that. So that's one area that people are concerned about. And secondly, also about the education, is about the equal opportunity. We came here, inspired by, Dr. Martin Luther King's, a famous "I had a dream," right? I mean, this week was, Monday was MLK Day. We want to be judged by our character, not by skin color. But however, we can see our system is under the, the excuse of equity, not equality. There's two big differences. Actually, Asian kids were actually penalized for the hard working spirit. That's not American spirit. That's not the way American should be. So those are a very, very big area, concern for us. Safety, yes, that's another area that we're concerned about. When we see the defund police and we see the deteriorating public safety, and like you mentioned, that in your area that you don't even get recruits nowadays because they demonize the police officers. We don't agree with that, and that's kind of a concern. And the third one, I think, the big area is economy, especially in Michigan. We just don't see company have interest coming here. We don't see our kids have interest staying here, and that got to be, something got to be done about it, right? Just last week, I heard news about like Intel opened a $20 billion fab in Ohio, and I hate to lose the Buckeyes. Right. So, those are the areas that I think we're very, very concerned about. So if anybody want to add to it, please.
Yeah. Hi, Captain Michael, this is Cindy again. Yeah, I do want to add a couple more sentences here. It's like, okay, I'm the first generation immigrant. I'm coming here looking for opportunity. I'm looking for opportunity to compete with any American equally. I don't need people consider me, oh, I need help, I'm minority, whatever. But I just looking for the opportunity I can compete with you for the same chance, same opportunity, anything. So when I heard about everything we need to consider is a quota thing for the group, that's really scared me. I mean, yeah, so then then looks like the opportunity we are looking for is it's not there anymore possible, especially for our case, our next generation, right? We were here looking for opportunity, and you can see we care education. That's not for ourselves, it's for our kids. But if they do not have an opportunity to compete with all other kids, then that's really make me feel no hope, no dream anymore. Yeah, I just want to add this point.
No, those are very, I find those to be very real concerns, educational opportunity, economic opportunity. That's what keeps people in your communities. The ability to develop a business and know that you're going to have great employees there. And that's one thing we have to work on in the state of Michigan, is retaining our educated, whatever skill you have, whether it's a trade skill or an IT skill or academic skill. If we have the brain drain going on in Michigan and they're all going out of state, that's not good for the state, because then our state starts aging and we have a higher senior citizen population versus individuals in the workforce. So Gary and Cindy, very good insight. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So like I always tell my daughter, we are not smarter than other people, but we can work 1 more hour than other people. So yeah.
Yeah. We have the same view on that. I've been doing that for decades myself.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's very good. Like you said, your upbringing of working in the countryside as a kid, right? Getting up really early every day. So same mentality. Very good. Thank you. So you said you had 2 questions or 2 comments. So what you want to ask the second one?
Add 2 comments on it. So that's what I said. So that's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're close to.
Yeah,
it's very good event here, and thank you everybody for participating. And Xiaohui, thank you, very good job here. And for Captain Mike, thank you to come to us and talk to us. I really appreciate it, and hope really wish good luck for the upcoming endorsement convention.
I really appreciate the invitation. So let me try some of my Chinese for everyone. So I want to say thank you for having me. CC Niwa Qinghua. So thank you, everyone.
谢谢你请我。
Yeah, 谢谢你邀请我. Right.
So that wasn't too bad anyway.
Not too bad.
That's great. That's great.
Thank
Very
you for
nice.
joining us tonight.
Yes.
But I really appreciate the great questions, and makes me a better candidate. As you can see, I'm pretty plain spoken, but I know my stuff on a lot of things, hopefully. And Gary, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm glad I could be here tonight for the whole time. And Joey, thank you for moderating. I appreciate it. Now I'll run into you guys on the east side of the state for sure, but look me up when I'm over there, okay?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Definitely want to see you in person more. And with COVID, probably I hope that's coming to an end pretty soon. So
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you, Captain Mike.
Thank you
Have
for
a good
everyone.
night.
Have a good night.
And stay safe.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.